Good afternoon all. Previous lecture we had discussed with the rib cage. Now let us discuss with the last portion of the axial skeleton, that is vertebral column. Vertebral column, it is arise from the base of the head to the lowermost side of the pelvic region. Fine. Here I want to tell you so many things for this. Vertebral column, it is made up of vertebrae. Fine. Here it is arise from the base of the head to the buttock region, pelvic region. It has four curvatures. Four curvatures in that. See, it is fixed one. I will show you on my body. In neck region, the curvature is anterior. In neck region, the curvature is anterior. In thorax region, the curvature is posterior, back one. In lumbar region, the curvature is anterior, here. And in the pelvic region, the curvature is posterior. So, on whatever side I can stand, if just I can say in this view, fine. So same way, neck curvature is anterior, thorax curvature is posterior, lumbar curvature is anterior, and pelvic curvature is posterior, like that. Fine. So four curvatures are there, and these four curvatures, here between these two vertebrae joints are there, and here with the help of slight movement we are able to move the neck. We are able to move the neck as well as the lumbar region. Remaining all the regions are stable one. Fine. So now let us discuss in detail about the vertebral column formula. Dear all students, here difference of seven bones I can explain you in this topic. Fine. You know that there are total 206 bones, but we calculate the 217 bones. 11 bones difference is there. So vertebral column formula is C7, T12, L5, S5, C4. But when you calculate it, it becomes 33. Let me explain it. Here, C means cervical. C means cervical. So in cervical region, in the neck region, we have 7 vertebrae. C1, C2, C3 like that, C7 up to that. Fine. T is thoracic. 12 vertebrae are there. And now it is very interesting to understand this. These 12 thoracic vertebrae are joined with 12 pairs of ribs laterally. One rib is there here and another rib is here. Okay, so 12 pairs of ribs are connected to the 12 thoracic ribs, vertebrae. L means lumbar, S means sacral. Here 5 vertebrae. Here also 5 vertebrae. Coccyx, tail region, 4 vertebrae are there. When you make the total of it, you obtain the answer 33. Fine. Out of this here, the lumbar vertebrae is the largest vertebrae. Lumbar vertebrae is the largest vertebrae, biggest, that is lumbar one. Fine. But now the main important point is this: 5 sacral vertebrae join together to form one sacral bone. So here what happened, that 5 cervical vertebrae, sacral vertebrae, S5, it become S1. Okay, 5 bones are fused together and form the only one bone, that is sacral bone. And similarly, 4 coccyx vertebrae are joined together to form one coccygeal bone. So similarly here, a C4 becomes C1. So here I mean to say that this one, C7, T12, L5, S5, C4, so this all changes occur in the adult. So normal vertebral column formula is this, but in adult C7, T12, L5, S1, C1. So in this way 26 vertebrae are there. Okay. Now the most important point, okay, this is extra point for NEET. First cervical vertebrae, it is known as atlas. This atlas is joined. Atlas has two facets. Now the two facets of the atlas join with the two condyles of the skull bones. So in this way, see, two condyles present in the skull. Yesterday we had discussed one point, that bicondylic skull. Bicondylic skull is the unique feature of all the mammals. So here, these condyles are present in the posterior part of the skull, and as you know that the most posterior side occipital bone is there. So occipital condyles join with the facet of the atlas bone and form the atlanto-occipital joint. But this atlanto-occipital joint is immobile one, not able to move. That's why we are unable to move our head. We are moving the neck. Fine. The first vertebrae, it is fixed with the skull. So please you remember that the name of the first vertebrae is atlas. Second cervical vertebrae is known as axis. Okay, so don't worry, I cannot tell you the each and every vertebra name one by one, fine, but you only remember that the largest vertebrae, that is of lumbar region, first cervical vertebrae, that is atlas, and second cervical vertebrae name is axis. And how the 33 bones become 26, that I explain you. So from my side, the axial skeleton is over. Fine. Now, appendicular skeleton. So here in the axial skeletal system we have learned with the 80 bones or 87 bones. 80 bones or 87 bones. Now here I can explain the appendicular skeleton 126 bones or 130 bones. 4 bone difference is there. So appendicular skeleton consists 126 bones. Here 64 bones are there in upper limb skeleton. And in lower limb skeleton, uh, 62 or 66 bones are there. So first of all I will tell you the 66 bones here and it becomes 62. So 4 bones difference is there in the lower limb skeleton. 7 bone difference is there in the vertebral column. In this way 11 bones difference is there. Fine. Upper limb skeleton. Now one by one we will calculate the upper limb bones. Upper limb skeleton, it is divided into 2 parts. Okay, so here in upper limb skeleton we divide it into 2 parts, pectoral girdle and forelimb. Pectoral girdle, it is broad in male. Fine. Pectoral girdle or shoulder girdle, it is broad in male. So pelvic girdle, it is broad in females. Okay, pectoral girdle consists 4 bones. So scapula are 2 in pectoral girdle on the back side of the rib cage. On the back side of the rib cage, triangle shaped bone is known as scapula. Okay, so one by one we will take this scapula. Triangled bone, connected to the posterior part of rib cage. Scapula has 2 processes. Okay, fine. Scapula, it is triangle bone. It is attached or connected to the posterior part of the rib cage. Between the 2 to 6th rib, the scapula is attached there. It has two processes, two projections. One is acromion process, which is long one, and very small one, that is coracoid process. Acromion process, it is connected to the clavicle and form the joint here on the tip of the shoulder. Scapula, which consists the one cavity. Just below the coracoid process, very shallow cavity is present. It is known as glenoid cavity, and this glenoid cavity is connected to the head of the humerus. Actually, humerus is arm bone. This is known as arm. Arm is consist of humerus, and head of the humerus is articulated with the glenoid cavity, and in this way it forms the shoulder joint. What I told earlier, very shallow cavity. So here cavity is small, but head of the humerus is big, and that's why here the shoulder joint, actually the shoulder joint is maintained in the proper position with the help of the muscles. Here we have very large muscle in the shoulder joint, that is deltoid. In athletes, if you see that deltoid margin is there in this way, fine. So this deltoid muscle along with that other muscles, biceps, triceps, it controls the shoulder joint in the proper position, but due to any reason, if these muscles are weak, so there is a chance of the dislocation of the shoulder. If the muscles got paralyzed or muscles become weak, there is a chance of the dislocation of the shoulder joint. એટલે આપણે ક્યારેક ખભો ઉતરી ગયો એવું કહીએ છીએ. So this is known as dislocation of the shoulder joint. So here what happened, the head of the femur, it is now coming outside from the glenoid cavity, fine. And if you have seen that one sling is there, one sling is tied, fine, and that band is passed through the neck region, and the person has to keep the upper limb in this position for few days. Okay, and manipulation is given there, so give the high intensity jerk. As a result, the head of the humerus is now coming in contact with the glenoid cavity in the proper stage, fine. So dislocation of the shoulder joint is very, very common due to muscular weakness. And how the shoulder joint is formed. So here we have two scapula. Now we have two clavicles. Clavicles are S-shaped bone. two curvatures. S-shaped bone. Also known as collarbone. So here it is connected nearer to the collar. So here S-shaped bone is there. So this S-shaped bone clavicle, one end it is attached to the sternum and another end it is connected to the acromion process. So acromioclavicular joint and sternoclavicular joint. Acromioclavicular joint and sternoclavicular joint. So actually the shoulder girdle, it is useful for the movement doing like this. Fine. So this type of the movements are due to the scapula as well as clavicle. So we have two clavicles and two scapula and each and every detailed information of this. So pectoral girdle is over. Now the forelimb skeleton. We count 30 bones only. So please remember, in each limb, upper limb or lower limb, we have 30 bones, 30. So I can double it. Fine. So I can divide the forelimb into few parts: arm, elbow, forearm, again arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, palm and fingers. So the arm consists the bone known as humerus. Humerus are two. Humerus are two. One here and one here. So 1 into 2 I have written that. So in one forelimb we have one humerus. So normally anatomical position is this. Normally anatomical position is this. So palm is in facing towards your side. Okay, so here towards the thumb side radius is there. So now I am moving to the next point, forearm bones. So on the thumb side, one bone is there known as radius, and on the little finger side, one bone is there, ulna. Actually, on the tip of the ulna, we feel the one projection here in the elbow joint. So that projection of the ulna fuse with the humerus and form the elbow joint. Actually, elbow joint is known as pivotal joint. Pivot move in the one side. Pivot એટલે મીજાગ્રો. આપણે ડોરમાં મીજાગ્રો હોય એ ડોરને one side જ move કરે. Similarly, actually here remember humerus, radius and ulna. Out of this, ulna is longest one. Again, out of the humerus, radius and ulna. Ulna is longest one, and ulna it is connected to the humerus and from the elbow joint. So we have arm bone 1, humerus 1, radius 1, ulna 1 on the both the side, double. Fine. Wrist. In our wrist, 8 bones are there. These bones are known as metacarpals. Carpals. Carpal bones. 16 are there. 8 into 2. 8 bones. 4 in 2 rows. So here when you observe these carpal bones, in one row 4 bones, in another row 4 bones are there. So 8 bones are there in the one wrist. So on the another wrist, another 8 bones are there. So carpal bones are 16. Fine, 16 wrist joint. Now move ahead. In the palm region, metacarpal bones are there. Actually metacarpals are 5, so total 10 metacarpals are there. Actually when you see proper, we have 5 digits. Fine, but 1 is thumb and 4 are fingers. So for that 5 bones are there in the palm region. So these are known as metacarpal bones or metacarpals, known as palm region. And now the fingers. Actually here in the fingers 4 are there, but along with that thumb is also included in the fingers. Fine, we can count the thumb in the finger. So fingers in that phalanges. In fingers, the bones are known as phalanges. So we have 14 phalanges. How? Actually you see that properly 2 bones are there in thumb, but 3 bones are there in each and every finger. So 2, 3, 3, 3 and 3. Count that 14 bones are there in 5 fingers. So similarly 28 bones are there in both the side fingers. So 28 and 10, 38, then 16, 54, then 2, 56, 58 and 60. So in this way 60 bones are there in upper limb or forelimb. So again, humerus 1, radius 1 towards the thumb side, ulna is there towards the little finger side. In wrist we have 8 bones, but these 8 bones are arranged in the 2 rows, and in each row 4 bones are there. Okay, so in wrist carpal bones are 8 arranged in 2 rows, and in each row 4 bones are there. In the palm region, the metacarpal bones are there 5, and phalanges 5 in the fingers. So 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3 is digital formula. 3333 is known as digital formula, so it is also applicable for lower limb. Fine. So this is about the upper limb skeleton.